Welcome back to the Man Within podcast, Masculine Stories, Women Listening. We're your hosts, Tatiana
and Aurelia.
And we're here in the new year having a special episode we've been really wanting to have for a long time now about the women listening part, because we've made a lot of space for the masculine stories part, which we love and have received so much from. And we wanted to pull back the curtain a bit on the women listening aspect and how the act of listening has changed our lives. It's opened us up to new awareness, new thought, new feeling, and genuinely new relationships and experiences with the masculine. And it's been pretty amazing. And there's a lot we want to get into today. And we appreciate you guys showing up for another round of this podcast in this new year, where we're really also wanting to bring in a bit more of our voice and a bit more of our reflections, because the times we're in really ask for it. Yeah, there's a lot we can say. There's a lot to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling this new year and certainly this time of year that allows for, as what we call fresh starts or new beginnings, but it's also a time of great turmoil in the world. Now more than ever, we really felt the need to express how we were feeling and how we've grown through this experience that we're very grateful for. And to you guys also for walking this path with us. I will say that for myself, thinking about this last year and the podcast, it's really allowed me to reflect on what it means to be a man and how I feel in relation to that. I know that I've really taken some time to reflect on previous relationships with understanding and compassion. And hearing these men be open about their struggles in a real way is really helpful to feminine healing, I think. I had the understanding that men were the stronger sex. That's what I heard growing up. And so I think that I thought that translated not just into the physical, but the emotional as well. I thought that they could handle more. And so the way I presented myself and the way I spoke to, say, the men in my life may not have been as gentle as it would have been if I'd been speaking to a female. So the truth is that I've realized, especially in our conversations, is that a lot of these men, they have the very same deep sensitivity that we have. They also have the ability to construct much stronger and more resilient walls for themselves. So I can imagine there are numerous things that my exes didn't share out of fear or protection. And of course, that's not conducive to a healthy relationship. But I think having the men validate the need to show up was also helpful for me to see what the balance is, or where the balance is. I know that not all men can talk about this deep sensitivity, this vulnerability. So maybe the true strength is that as a man's willingness to be vulnerable.
Yeah, I love that. I agree. And man, yeah, I have had a lot of my own reflections listening to the men on this podcast and learning from them and going, wow, I really judged this situation in my past totally wrong, or I put this guy in a bucket that he didn't need to be in. There's grace to forgive ourselves for that. And also have a new experience, which I think both of us are in our relationships right now, which is really amazing. I was wondering this, like, would I have been able to have some of these realizations without having these direct conversations with men? Like, maybe I could have taken a course, I could have watched a movie that touched my heart, but there's something about talking to somebody real and hearing their real story that hits different it's like this magic sauce that we're built with, I think, as humans, that when we really listen to each other and we really have a vulnerable space of conversation, things just move way differently than anything in an educational sense. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, even I can still remember the first time I spoke to what I would qualify as a quote unquote aware, consciously aware man. And I felt my world shift a little bit because I felt something different within me. Like this conversation is different. This energy is different.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is happening here?
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to this man talk about his family. He was talking about how he relates to his wife and how they were planning a family and the kind of father he wanted to be. And it just felt like I was meeting a new species, and and there was a different paradigm. And after that, I couldn't stop seeing more of that. And I loved it.
Mm.
But I think, I mean, I'm sure part of that was me becoming aware and becoming ready to receive and listen, which is why that listening part is so important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like you said, it's an energetic listening too. Like that's also the value of hearing a real story is you can feel it in their soma, in their body, in their tone of their voice, and their expressions and so valuable. And I think about how many people in my family or in my life that have a story like that that could shift me that I don't even know. I don't even know it's in there. And maybe they're not comfortable to go there, but it's in there. And yeah, this podcast space has really opened my eyes to the power of such an ancient practice, which we started off the podcast talking about. We know the power of oral tradition, but there's another thing to really engage it and be in that curious space of, you've got something for me here, instead of, oh, I know what kind of person you are, or I can predict where this conversation is going to go based on whatever qualifiers I know about you. And that's just been incredibly humbling, such a powerful journey to hear the men on this show say things I never thought they would, or say things I never thought I'd hear a man say. For
Hmm.
example, I've shared with you, Aurelia, I grew up with a belief that men just don't love as much as women, based on experiences I had. And that's how I was able to rationalize situations that I experienced. And our society really kind of props that belief up in a way, sometimes subtly and sometimes not so subtly. Like, oh, women are the compassionate ones, and women are so soft and caring, and they're the crying ones as the men do these terrible things, and blah blah blah. And this show has been so helpful for me to confront that belief more directly. And I still have some layers to peel back. I mean, these beliefs, when they're formed, they're usually quite young. They're really deeply embedded in there. However, I've just noticed these moments where I could feel the truth and the real genuine care
Mm.
and words being said that I never thought I would hear from a man in real life. Like, okay, maybe I'll see it in a movie or something that's sappy,
Mm.
but here's a guy that I know in my community who's saying it for nothing other than the truth of his being. So it's been incredibly healing and shining a light on places inside that maybe a lot of us don't even want to admit are in there.
Hmm. Yeah, I think what you're saying makes me think about something. It's kind of been on my mind the last few days. It's about what growth actually requires of us. I'm thinking about for men specifically, I'm thinking about the idea of confidence. And when I first thought about this, it seemed so simple and I almost overlooked it. But I was at a like a social gathering and there was a couple on the floor and I was watching them just dance around and I became fascinated with how the man led his female partner around the floor. And he seemed to be very, very much in flow, very confident, and he was able to anticipate when she was going to move or when he wanted to improvise. And so it felt like he was holding spatial awareness for two bodies at the same time.
Mm.
And I was just transfixed. I mean, here he is not only anticipating movements, but thinking ahead about where he wants to go. And she just seemed blithely happy to follow and seemed very happy and secure in his arms and allowing this flow to happen. And yet, even though they were two bodies moving together, like he never seemed to lose awareness of where he was and where he wanted to go. And he'd push her away with one hand, and then he'd do a little jig off to the side, and all the while maintaining connection.
Mm.
But I just kept thinking that here is a man who has mastered a level of confidence in his own body that it allows him to be truly present and to also try new things without fearing that it's going to look silly or that other people are going to judge him.
Mm.
Because somewhere inside, he knows that he's expressing himself. And so judgment is irrelevant.
Mm.
And so I think that that's ultimately where, I see that in some of the interviews that we've done, because some of these men that have come on the podcast, they're doing something they've never done. They're improvising,
Mm-hmm.
they're challenging themselves. And also there's been men who have declined our request when we have invited them. And some of them have been very clear no's, and others have just ghosted us, which I found ironic given that a lot of these men are preaching about empowerment to other men and to women.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that the dancer, the male dancer example just really exemplified the need for men to step into that confidence and that knowing that they can flow and they can lead and they can improvise and it all can be this, beautiful dance.
Yeah, I like the image of the shimmy on the side because, yeah, I again back to this idea of a really constructed image of what a man is and what a man isn't, what a woman is and what a woman isn't. And a man having control and driving and, leading the woman around, that's not a totally new concept. But this grooving and feeling himself and getting into his own flow, it's like there is such a spectrum of humanity. There's so much to every single one of us, regardless of religion, race, gender, age. And it's so easy right now to get super, super fixated on the labels just because of the way we're communicating with each other on the internet and the way we're sifting through the awareness of thousands and thousands and millions of people. We didn't have that in the past in this way. And people were still prejudiced and people were still stereotyping each other. some people think it's normal and great. And I get it. Like, as someone who's grown up in New York, I don't have time and energy to really deeply connect with every single person that comes into my awareness. We don't. However, when we get that space to really actually connect, like, I am going to connect with this person, I am going to go on a date, even, or I'm going to go to this class or whatever it is.
Mm.
Isn't it such a great gift to really turn down the dial a little bit and open up curiosity, open up this awareness of, I don't really know what this person is based on what I'm seeing. I don't really know what's possible here just based on these qualifiers. And, these are things we hear about, but it is a very embodied experience to learn how to not just listen as in someone's talking to you, but listen to the room, to let the moment actually surprise you. And men are much more than what I had realized. Also, to your point about male confidence, and there's also difference, like, between men and women. And it's such a paradox because there's these stereotypes of difference. And then there's also these stereotypes right now of, we're all supposed to be held to the same level of standard. Like, men should be as nurturing as women, or they're bad,
Mm.
right? Or women are supposed to be as fast and productive as men, or they're lazy. These are like
Mhm.
really common examples. And how when we just clump each other also in those kinds of buckets, we don't actually get to see ourselves and the beauty in our difference and the beauty in their difference. I'm dating right now, and I feel like I can listen and be aware of the ways he expresses love that's just different than me.
Mhm.
In the past, I would have been like, why aren't you doing X, Y, and Z the way I would? And now I'm like, oh, well, but you're also doing these other things that I wouldn't do, right? Like, you're creating a container for me. You're taking care of certain things that I wouldn't do or think to do. You're bringing your flavor in, and having that awareness has made relating a lot easier for me. There's a lot more space for gratitude and receptivity rather than, why am I not dating another woman in a male body?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I can say too that even witnessing your experience, because we talk about, our relationships and what's happening. And one of the things that I've enjoyed seeing in you change is that you are, and this might sound weird, but you are requesting more feminine things, more feminine gifts. And you're required because he's showing up, as in his masculine way, and he's providing a container, a space for you that feels safe. And so you feel safe to ask for more of what you need.
Hmm.
For example, I think we were talking one day and you told me how you had said, I need more hugs tomorrow. I told him you need more hugs. And I love that because once upon a time, I myself would think I wouldn't have asked for that because I would have felt like, oh, that sounds needy. That sounds clingy. And he's going to laugh at me.
Mm.
But I think that when you're in a space where your nervous system can relax, it gives you the freedom to be silly, to kind of melt into a version that can say things like, I want more kisses. I want to sit on your lap. I don't know, just those aspects of ourselves that we may have sidelined because we judged, or maybe because of an experience that we had that someone told us it was it was too much
Mm-hmm.
or not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice to see. And I think for myself as well, I've been able to soften more into my relationship as a result of hearing men, like say men on the podcast say like, no, we get it. We know what we need to do and we're showing up. And that gives us just a little bit more space to breathe. And it feels nice.
Yeah, it really does. And it's incredible how certain beliefs and stories get so loud. That's all you notice. All you notice is, oh, this guy's an asshole. Oh, look how he didn't acknowledge this, or look how he forgot that, or look how he didn't say the thing that you wanted him to say. Like that's such a common narrative. And just flipping the switch a little bit to men want to love, men want to give, men want to show up, and really believing it, it's like you can just see it everywhere. I can see it everywhere all of a sudden. You know, even in my relationships with my dad and my stepdad, probably the best they've ever been. And they've grown, absolutely, but I'm listening more for the love. I'm allowing the difference. You know, just the fact that they have a bit of a different brain than us. They have a bit of a different way of processing things. And I used to be so offended. And now I'm not. So I'm really, really grateful to all the men who've shown up to drop in with us and be real with us because it's also reminded me the power of storytelling. Like how one story can change everything.
Hmm.
And I'm so grateful that we've been able to showcase nuanced human stories because we need it. We really, really need anything that amplifies the human experience that also creates more curiosity and more empathy and more space for more, if that makes sense, rather than, like I've said already, just that shortcut to I already know. I already know this story. I've seen this story a million times.
Yeah.
So, what a gift to be able to do that with you, Aurelia. And it's very nourishing to my heart.
Yeah, I agree. I think that now that we've had about 10 interviews with men and we've been discussing how in this next season we want to go a little deeper, present some more challenging questions and go into some themes that are not often discussed and just get a real life example, real time feedback from a man who's in a part of his life that he notices more and maybe has some clarity to offer us.
Yeah.
I know that when you mentioned, hearing these unique stories, it made me think about how when I was in doing my medical training, we have clinicals and we have people that we engage with, but we also have a lot of case studies. And these are essentially fictionalized versions of what could happen, in interactions with a patient, for example. I remember feeling like this was preparing me. It was giving me these scenarios that I was fully prepared to handle. But then when you hear the real stories and the people that are sharing their experiences that have led them to a deeper understanding of their health or even something as simple as learning like what a liver really does,
Mm.
it can change everything.
Yeah.
And so these real life stories, you're right, they're so powerful and they're so much more valuable than I realized.
Yeah.
Now I just feel like Curious George. I just want to know. We've had these conversations where we end the interview, we're just thinking about all the additional questions we want to ask. Because it's so rich and nourishing.
Yeah, and eternal, really. It's like, wow. Just one person. You can spend a whole lifetime getting to know that person. That's the truth. That's the truth of Eros and the infinity that I believe we really are, and how beautiful to build a community and a practice of engaging with that curiosity and that well of freshness, because I'm sure you've experienced it. I know you have, like, just that awe and enjoyment and wonder to be shown something new again. After all these years, again, you're shown something new and something fresh. And I'm a firm believer that that awareness is something that can truly deeply change the world. That there's always more to know. And not in a way like, I gotta know everything, but in a true, like a child who is just in awe and in curiosity and in wonder and flexible and open and not taking life for granted.
Yeah. And to your point about what you just said about sometimes, about seeing something, hearing something new, I would even say that even if it's not necessarily new, but it's the first time that you're really allowing yourself to listen.
Right.
Or to take it in.
Exactly.
Being in a place where I'm checking myself, what am I filtering this through anything, or am I able just to listen objectively?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, which is why I love that, in the title of the podcast, you say women listening, because, listening reflects vulnerability. It requires openness, presence, and ultimately a willingness to change. Because we might learn something new. We might discover something that we might want to tweak somehow and might alter future conversations with another man or anyone, really. It's the willingness to show up without armor. And that's really what we would love to work towards in this world today.
Really beautiful. Really grateful. And I really hope that our listeners can hear themselves in this conversation, whether that's because you've listened to the podcast and you've had your own experiences that touched you, certain things that changed your perspective, maybe a new listening in your life or people in your life, whatever it is. We know that this is a very human experience that we're having, and it's just a joy to continue to do so and continue to grow ourselves within this framework.
Absolutely. And to all of our listeners, we thank you so much for tuning in and being open to what we share, and to the men that we have had on the podcast so far. We are so very grateful that you are willing to collaborate on this unique idea with us. And we look forward to additional stories. And we continue to encourage people to submit nominations, send us feedback. We read all of that. We welcome all of that. And we look forward to having you guys join us on the next episode of The Man Within, Masculine Stories, Women Listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, we'd love your support. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if our energy resonates with you and you're feeling called to connect or work with us, you'll find all the details in the show notes below. Thank you again for being part of this journey with us.